Boom. Okay. Thanks, guys, for joining. I'm sure we'll have some more people jumping in as we get going. Today, we're talking about one specific metric and how to successfully manipulate that metric for the better, which is ARM, which is average revenue per member. Okay. If we think about average revenue per member, okay, there's a formula to figure this out that I'm going to go over with you guys. Let me share the right screen here. Okay, so really easy formula. I'm just going to throw it in the notes. So ARM, we talked about is average revenue per member. Jonathan Frank was like the first one that I really saw talking about this, like over and over again and bringing light to it. And I think it's a metric that we don't talk about enough. But how you do this is you take your gross revenue.
How are you? Hi, I'm lovely. Thank you for asking me.
Overall revenue. And then
I would
do this. Okay. And then we're just going to divide this by your current student count. Okay, so this is how you figure out where you're starting at. Okay, so for example, if I have, and I hope this is no one on this call, if I have $30,000 in gross revenue, and I have 300 students, okay, then my ARM is going to be $100 per member. Okay, I'm doing 30,000 divided by 300 number of students equals $100 average revenue per member. Okay, so our goal is to make our average revenue per member as valuable as possible. I am totally on board with wanting schools that have 200 members grossing $50,000-$60,000 as opposed to having a 500 member school that's grossing $70,000. And you might say, like, Adam, isn't the second one more money? It is, but also with 500 students, you need more staffing. It's a lot more work. You need a lot more support for those students, which means your expenses are going to be going up as well. And it's actually not going to create, in most cases, better profit margins. So the way that we can have healthy profit margins and not have to have a lot of burdensome expenses is to increase average revenue per member. Now, I'm going to screen share a different screen here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we can increase our average revenue per member. So let me jump over here. Dan, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. All right, can everyone see this if I go full screen? Can you guys see the screen still? Yes, okay, cool. All right, so jumping into this, okay, common question is how do I get more members so I can increase revenue? All right, this seems to be almost like the default question for martial arts schools and fitness studios when I first start coaching them is, well, I need to increase revenue, so how do I get more members? It's not always the correct question to ask, okay? The right question is, what are the dials I can turn, or what are the strategies I can implement to increase revenue? It's not always going to be new members. Okay, new members is just a small portion of how we increase total revenue and how we start working towards increasing by that goal of 25% year over year at a very minimum. So to start with this, let's talk about what I call false profits, which in my opinion are false ways that certain consultants in fitness and martial arts industry teach to generate revenue that actually kills profit. Because at the end of the day, you guys are all running a business. You're running a business so that you can make an impact, that you can build a legacy for yourself and for your families. And if there's not profit, it's a lot harder to make an impact in the community because you don't have as much money to use as a tool to create an impact. And then it's also hard to build a legacy and not have, God forbid, if something happens to you, like we want to make sure that our families are taken care of. So profit is going to help with all of that. So false profit number one is add more things. The number of new programs, weapons things, all of these different things that get launched every year in the martial arts industry is crazy. Adding more things is not the way to get more revenue and increase profit. Okay. What I tend to see is when people add more classes, and bolt on more products to their school, all of a sudden their focus gets divided over multiple programs, and all of a sudden they don't have any one program that's killing it. They have a bunch of programs that are just barely making it or doing okay. And a lot of times when I go and do a school visit, I'll start watching some of the classes. And there's one school visit I did, and they had a cardio kickboxing program. And when I went to watch the class, there was 6 people on the mat. So afterwards, I was like, "Hey," I go, "What is this program even profitable?" He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Definitely." He's like, "I know it's making money." When we went and did the math, he was losing like $350 per class that he was doing because of the money he was paying the kickboxing person, the money he was putting into marketing that program, all of those things. And originally it was an idea, oh, we'll use this to generate more revenue. But when we broke things down, it actually was taking away revenue and taking away profit from the school. And as soon as they switched and put a different martial arts class, which was their bread and butter, into that time slot, guess what? That mat was full. Like they were making money in that hour as opposed to losing it. So adding more things can be tempting. As entrepreneurs, we all get shiny object syndrome, and we see something new launch and we're like, oh, I want that. I want to improve my business and add this in. But we have to be careful. Like simple is scalable. Okay. Simple is scalable. Some of the wealthiest business owners I know have some of the most simple, boring businesses I've ever seen. Okay. You don't need more things. And instead, I would challenge all of you guys to look at your systems, your processes, the programs, your offerings, and just think, how can I simplify this? Because logistically, it's going to make it easier on my staff. And it's also on the consumer end going to be way easier for everyone to understand our offerings if it's simplified. Okay, number 2, pay in fulls. There's a lot of different opinions about pay in fulls. I think if you are extremely financially disciplined, like extremely financially disciplined, okay, it's okay to do pay in fulls, but the big mistake we see in the industry is we see people discounting away their profit in order to get a large lump payment up front. What I mean by that is if we think the average martial arts school's profit margin is about 10 to 15%, okay, that's average. Our goal is really 25 to 30% profit margins. Okay, but if the average is 10 or 15%, and you are offering a pay in full option that gives them a 10% discount when they pay in full, you just pretty much gave away all of your profit by doing that pay in full. We call it piffing your pants is what we call it here at Relentless. We see school owners that just cannibalize their monthly recurring revenue because they think they need money now. So then they do a bunch of cash outs, they do a bunch of pay in fulls. And what happens is, and I've seen this from talking to managers, I know Kelly's seen this from talking to managers as well. All of a sudden the staff starts to get anxiety because they have to constantly hustle to meet the monthly goals, to pay the bills, because there's not enough recurring monthly revenue coming in. For us, we don't even take pay in fulls. Like if someone wants to pay in full, they can do it without a discount if they want, but we don't offer it. We don't take it. And the main reason being is we want to have consistent, predictable revenue coming in. It becomes much easier to budget, becomes much easier to plan for things, becomes easier to consistently save and pull money out and put it into a profit account. All of those things become easier when you have recurring revenue. The other thing to think about long-term is when you want to exit your business someday. And I know many of you guys, maybe when I say that, you're like, well, I want to do this for the rest of my life. That's awesome too. But what if you had the opportunity that someone offered you a life-changing amount of money for your business? Well, when we think about pay in fulls aren't getting any multiple when your business is evaluated. When your business is evaluated, they're looking mostly at monthly recurring revenue, future projections, all of those things. So the multiple really happens on the consistency of revenue you have coming in, not those one-time $10,000 pay in fulls. Those aren't getting multiples because those aren't going to be, that's not going to be revenue that benefits the new person taking over the business, right? So really, really important. And then also pay in fulls do make it harder to track your numbers accurately. Meaning if you're looking at your arm is going to be heavily inflated if you have 1 month where you got like $15,000 in pay in fulls, because then the next month when you don't have that same amount of pay in fulls, all of a sudden your gross is much lower and it's going to give you a different number for what your average revenue per member is. Okay, so it's really important if you guys want to have that accuracy in numbers that we're thinking about recurring revenue. Okay, that's what I want to hit home today. All right. Third is sales and discounts. Okay, when we talk about sales and discounts, I am not saying not to do this. And then if we can just have everyone, yeah, cool, thank you. Do these sparingly. We do sales, okay, we do flash sales from time to time, but the other thing that you need to know is you have to have a great understanding of what your profit margins are on whatever you're discounting. I've seen people heavily discount equipment package to the point that they're not making any money on the equipment. Okay, you should know what your cost is, your wholesale cost of everything. So that way, including shipping in that wholesale cost. So that way, when you do discount something or when you do have a sale, you know how much wiggle room you have where you can still profit off the sale. Okay, having a sale just to generate revenue right now and not paying attention to profit, it's irresponsible for your business because you're going to end up either selling things at a loss or selling things at the same price that you're paying for them, which why have a business, right? So it's a business. We want to make sure that you're profiting off it. So just be careful the amount that you're doing sales and the amount that you're doing discounts. I'm not saying not to do them, but be careful. The other thing I'll sort of add to this is many of you guys know that I used to work for a pretty large fitness franchise, right? And one of the trends we started to see before I came there from the previous marketing team is they did discounts and sales so much that if you actually Googled discount kickboxing, this company was the #1 thing to show up on the page multiple times. I don't think any of us want to be known for discount martial arts, right? Because it brings a different crowd that has a little bit of entitlement, that always wants to bargain, that wants cheaper things. We don't want to be known for that. So use those as tools sparingly, okay? Maybe max once a month, okay? And when we do a sale, we might do a sale on like shorts and hoodies like we did last month. And then this month, maybe we're going to do a flash sale on just doing, what I want to say, trial sales. Okay, so it's now we're hitting up a different audience segment. Okay, and it's not the same people seeing the sale or seeing the discount. Okay, continuing on, let's talk about predictive profit. So these are the things we want to encourage you to do. So #1, obviously, is new member acquisition. So strategies for attracting the right people that pay and fit your culture. Big emphasis on the right people that pay and fit your culture. Now, how do you know if they're the right people? Well, do they share the same values? Okay, are they within distance to your school? Do they, and I would say that the values part is really the most important part here. Now, some of you guys are going to say, well, what about, can they afford the program? I'm going to say yes and no on that one. And here's why. I've had people come into our school, and when we do the right value proposition, even though they may have came in not thinking they could afford $200 a month, they still sign up. Okay, the reason is because the value is outweighing the monthly price. Now, when we don't do a good job of explaining that or communicating that, then it becomes too expensive for them. So the one thing I want to point out is making sure that #1, we have a proven sales system that's not reliant on one single personality. When I first came to Arizona and started managing a school, I thought that we had the best sales system ever because we were closing at 92%. Okay, but I was doing all of the sales. So then I was like, well, we got this working. It's great. Let me start training our team. So I trained our team, and guess what happened? Our closing percentage dropped to 50%. And I was like, well, why is that happening? And it was because we had a salesperson. We didn't have a sales system. The system that I had originally created was built on my personality and how I sell, and it wasn't duplicatable. So then we went back to the drawing board. I created a new system after doing a lot of research in the fitness industry and seeing how they were selling. And then once we put this system in place, all of a sudden the team starts closing at 85% because it wasn't a personality-based system. That exact system I'm talking about, if you guys are part of martial arts systems, if you're part of the agency, part of the mastermind, you have access to that full sales system. Okay, it still works extremely, extremely well. It's a first day enrollment incentive option, but it works. Okay, and the great thing about it is it works no matter where those people are coming from, whether they're coming on a free offer, paid offer, whether they're coming from Facebook ads, when they're coming from natural organic Google search. Okay, it works. So I encourage you guys, if you're not using that, go through the sales success system in the martial arts systems course, because it is a system that's and it's being used in well over 100 martial arts schools successfully. Okay, second way to increase profit is to increase ARM, which for those of you guys that weren't at the beginning of the call, average revenue per member. Okay, new members, like I said, is not always the answer. We can increase the average revenue per member for the members we already have and instantly boost up our profit, because in most cases, when we do some of these revenue dials, I'm going to teach you guys on this call, you're not adding any extra expenses, you're just increasing revenue, okay, which is the best because now that increases our profit margin since we're not adding any extra expenses to the process. The third way, and this is the thing that I think business owners in general miss the most, which is operations optimization, which is essentially asking ourselves the question, how can we be more efficient with what we're already doing? Okay, and I'm going to go over a couple models of this, but for a good example, let's say we close at 50%. So half the people that walk in the door, we're able to sell on a membership, right? 50%, I want you guys shooting for 85, but let's say we're closing at 50%. I can increase revenue and increase profits if I can close 5% higher or 10% higher. So I know we always default to new member acquisition, but a lot of times we can just look at our existing systems and processes and see how can we get this 5% better? How can we get this 3% better? How can we get this 10% better? And all of a sudden, by becoming better at executing the systems we have in place, all of a sudden we see our numbers start to jump up. And then all of a sudden we have more revenue and we have more profit coming in. And again, numbers 2 and 3 on this page don't cost me anything extra in money to do. Okay, I can increase average revenue per member without adding any expenses. I can increase my performance in operations without adding any expenses. New member acquisition, many times it's going to add extra expenses if we're hosting an event, if we're doing paid marketing, all of those stuff. So I like number 2 and number 3 the best when I'm thinking about how we can increase profit in our business, because it's no extra expense to me. All right, let's continue on. So let's go over, we're going to break down each one of those 3 topics I just touched on, okay, for adding more profit. And then we're going to really dive deep into some of these. So let's talk about new member acquisition strategies. Google Ads. Bold prediction, Google Ads are the future of marketing for membership businesses. Okay, Google Ads paired with Facebook ads is a super powerful combination. I would put money to say that our clients getting the best performance on their ads through the agency are running both Google and Facebook ads. All right, if we think about Google Ads, Google owns YouTube, they own Google Maps, they own the Android operating system, they have the Google Play Store, they have all of these different places, and obviously Google Search and Gmail, all these different places that we can place ads. And with Google Ads, we can pretty much follow someone across the internet. When they're reading an article, we can have a Google ad pop up. We can hit them through all of these different places. Okay, we can even retarget people that see our ad on Facebook with Google Ads. I think Google Ads are completely underrated, underappreciated. I know a lot of our clients that are doing both Google and Facebook, they're actually seeing better, more qualified results coming from Google at the moment. So if you guys are not doing anything with Google Ads, I think it is an untapped category for many of you guys. Okay, we steal this term from Gary Vee, the jab cross. He calls it the right hook. We call it the knockout, which is just evergreen strategy. So the things that you should be doing consistently that will add more legs to your table. If you've been on these calls or webinars before, you've heard me reference this 100 times, that your marketing strategy should be like a table. Okay, we want as many legs on this table, so as many different marketing strategies in place as possible to make sure that our table is extremely sturdy. We've also talked about that some of us have a one-legged table that we use because you're just relying on one source of leads. So maybe you're just doing paid marketing and that's it. And that's your only source. Well, what happens when we get to like December, and December is historically a high cost per lead month on all social media platforms? You can't rely on that. So are we just going to be okay with December being a slow month? For me, I like doing everything I can to make December one of the best months of the year. So we get really creative with our marketing and what we're doing in December in order to make that happen. So I would encourage you guys to do that as well. I'm going to give you guys a bunch of these strategies. Okay. And then third is community events. I see or talk to school owners, and a lot of times be like, are you doing trunk or treat? Are you doing the Easter egg hunt? Are you doing our Winter Wonderland event? Are you doing any of those things? And they're like, no. But then meanwhile, I see the clients that are doing it, and they're getting like 14 paid trials at one of these events. And they're getting their member quota, their new member quota for the month from just doing one of these events. In addition to that, they're also getting hundreds of leads, like hundreds of leads at the lowest cost ever that they can remarket to through the rest of the year. Community events are a game changer. Okay. And I want to end this sort of screen with one thing that happened in a recent conversation with a school owner. He goes, Adam, he goes, your school has been open since October. And he goes, you have more he goes, you have more students than I have, and I've been open for 10 years. How do you have so many students in like just 8 months? And in talking to him, I gave him a bunch of things like community events and some of these marketing things I'm going to share with you. And the thing that kept coming up was, well, I don't have time for that, or we don't want to do that, or that's too much work. And I was like, well, the reason we've been able to grow at the rate we've been growing is because we make time for it. It's never too much work because we know it's going to give us the output that we need. So we have to be open-minded and thinking, how can we do this? And then going along with community events, how often are you just sitting down and going on Google and just searching family events near me, kids events near me, and then emailing those events or calling those events and saying, hey, how can we support your event? How can we have a booth? Can we pay you to have a booth there? Can we come and do a demonstration? Whatever it is, we have to be proactive. And the thing I don't understand about our industry is so many of us opened our business because we want to have a massive impact and change as many lives in our community as possible. But yet a lot of us aren't willing to actually go out in our community and connect with people and network with people and actually get out there and meet people in the community. How can you have a community impact if you're not actually out there in the community making an impact? Like, we have to be willing to do the work for those things. I think free community events are one of the best new member acquisition strategies on the planet. If you're part of Martial Arts Systems or the agency, we give you our main community events that we do, and we have a new one coming out this year called the Winter Wonderland event for December. We ran it for the first time last year, and it was the most trials that we've had from any marketing thing that we've ever done in the month of December. Okay, if we talk real quick about online marketing, we have sort of this red ocean, blue ocean idea. For the last couple of years, Facebook, in my opinion, has been a red ocean. If you look at all the martial arts schools in your area, if they're doing any online marketing, I would bet money that they're probably just focusing on Facebook. When we look at Google, Google is still very much a blue ocean for the martial arts industry, meaning that so many people are focused on Facebook that Google is like, hey, I'm ready for you. Like, I'm right over here. Let me help you. Okay. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for many of you guys on this call to be making waves on Google. Okay. Also, you're paying Google money, which means they're going to help with your search ranking as well. So there's that added benefit to that side of things. But again, I just want to hit home. If you're not doing anything in Google, you should be posting in your Google business profile consistently. I would encourage you to just look through your Google business profile, make sure that information is accurate and all of that. Continuing on, this was a 100-day case study that we did between Facebook and Google, just to give you some metrics, so you don't think I'm just pulling out information out of my butt. This is obviously from 2022 because this is when I originally did this presentation. I would say if we did this now, it hasn't really changed that much, honestly. Okay, so if we sort of look at cost per lead for this specific account, this account is typically a high cost per lead area. So with this specific school, when we took over their account in 2022, the previous agency that they were working with was getting cost per lead around $150 to $200. Okay, so we got that significantly down on Facebook. Okay, and you can see average cost per lead is around $40 to $50 for these guys, right? Then we did Google Performance Max ads at the same time with the exact same budget. You can see at the end of the 100-day test on Facebook, they got 150 leads for $48 on average. Okay, and if we think about Facebook, on average, there's an 86% year-over-year increase in lead costs for every industry. You can see this is from 2023, this graphic. Okay, but if we look at sort of the fitness category here, average cost per lead in 2023 was $38.33. It's that first column right there on the left. So that was the average in 2023. If it's an 86% year-over-year increase, you can probably see that that's probably getting up closer to like $48, $50 at this point. Continuing on with this, we also know that Google can do amazing things coupled with Facebook. So if we look at the same 100 days, okay, so these are the same months, okay, through Google, same ad spend on Google, 236 leads, cost per lead of $18 for the same martial arts school. Okay, so Facebook, they're getting $50 leads on average. Google, same budget and everything, $18 leads, slightly more qualified leads. The reason I'm showing you guys this is because I want you guys to see the data that Google works, and it works extremely well, especially when coupled with Facebook ads. Okay, and the reason being is when I run a Facebook ad, a lot of times they don't buy right away, because when they're on Facebook, they are not on Facebook to buy things. They are scrolling through their feed. So we are interrupting their scroll, grabbing their attention, and then giving them an offer. Okay, they don't buy right away because they don't have trust with the brand. So then what do? They go and Google you. They look up your reviews. Okay, and then when I have a Google ad pop up as the first thing when they Google me, guess what? They click through that. They get more information because it's attached to my website or a landing page instead of a Facebook form. And all of a sudden they opt in through Google. They're more educated, and they're more likely to go through the trial purchase process from that Google ad than they are from a Facebook ad. My personal opinion, and just based on the data that we're seeing. Does that mean that Facebook sucks and we should abandon it? No, it is still useful. You will see better performance in Google ads when Facebook ads are running simultaneously. When you remove the Facebook ad element, you're going to see cost per lead go up on Google. Okay, you're going to see total number of leads go down on Google. So it's a Batman and Robin thing. We want Batman and Robin. We don't want Batman solo on this one. Okay. All right, let's talk about the jabs. Okay, so these are evergreen marketing tactics that should be done consistently. These jabs are going to help you to set up both the crosses and the knockouts. So if we think about in marketing terms, the jabs are brand awareness. Okay, with jabs, you're most likely not going to see a lot of new members right now from these things. But these are the things I've done consistently over time. They add to the mix of where you just have a constant influx of leads and new students coming in, all right? And some of these we forget about. Some of these were things that maybe if you've owned a school for the last 20 or 30 years, you're like, oh, I remember doing these at the beginning, but we got away from them. Flyering cars, school donations. We're doing a back-to-school party at Move, and part of what we're doing is we're doing collecting school supplies to donate to local schools so that we can nurture those relationships. When we drop off those supplies, it's not like the school's handing us a bunch of lead information so we can get new members from it. It is a long-term play, right? We just want to continue to build and nurture that relationship. So when the school is thinking of working with a business in the area, they think of us first. Okay. Or when they have an event, they reach out to us first. That's what we want. Okay. Lead boxes or rack cards. I like rack cards better. We just do a QR code that people can scan to go to our trial membership. Business relationship nurturing. How many business owners do you know in your area? What are the relationships with them? How often are they wanting to team up with you and be part of your events or part of co-marketing? One of the easiest things you guys can do is approach businesses that have a similar demographic but aren't competition. So like Kumon Learning Center, those what's it called? The Ninja franchise that does like teaches kids coding. Like those are businesses you want to partner with. And typically the partnership is like this. Hey, why don't we do this? We have a list of 3,000 leads. Why don't we send an email out for you guys? So if you guys type up an email and give it to us, we'll send it to our list promoting Code Ninjas. And then if it's okay, we can do the same thing. We'll write an email to give to you to send out to your list that promotes our school. And now we can co-market together, okay, and use each other's lists to grow. So easy to do. Okay. And it's pretty much they're getting free marketing to your list and you're getting free marketing to their list, but always present what they get first when you have these conversations. Parents nights out and buddy bashes are good ways to get friends into the facility. Short form video content. I just did a podcast with Matt State, who is probably the best martial arts person on TikTok using the platform correctly. More followers than anyone else in the industry, I know, by far, more engagement than anyone else. He does strictly almost all short form video content. Okay. For us, we need to be consistent with this. Okay. How often are we doing reels? How often are we doing stories and showing insight into what's going on? Because that content is going to randomly appear in people's feeds in your area if you're using your local hashtags and things like that when you post it, which is what we want. We want that awareness to continue. Short form video content for you guys is consistent brand awareness. It is the most consumed type of content right now. Reels and TikTok videos are consumed more than your traditional post of putting an image up there or just putting a video on your feed. Okay. Referral program. Do you have consistent education on that? Do you have a QR code on the outside of your windows that offers your trial program? So that way, if people are walking by and you're not open yet, they can just scan that and get it in. Everyday direct mail or every door direct mail. This is what we tend to see. It has to be 90 days before you start to see a return. Okay. So if you just do it as a one-off and do it for 1 month, you're probably not going to get anything out of it. Okay. For direct mail campaigns, typically we see that it has to happen 3 months in a row before you start seeing a return on your investment. So if you're going to go that route, I think it's a good route to go, because if you think about the number of marketing mail you get now compared to what you used to get 5-10 years ago, it's drastically lower because everyone's focused on digital and online right now. It's another blue ocean opportunity for you guys, but you have to at least commit to doing it for 90 days if you want to get anything out of it. Doing pop-up booths, whether it's in front of your studio, whether it's in front of another business, local influencer interviews or marketing. I guarantee there is some local influencer in your area. If you search your city on TikTok or on Instagram Reels, you're going to find influencers in your areas that you can hit up and be like, hey, can I pay you to come in and do a positive review / commercial for our school? Okay. And they will come in with their child. They will film the whole experience. They'll do a video talking about how awesome you are. And now all of a sudden there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers are seeing you being recommended by this person as the place to be. I don't see any schools really taking advantage of using local influencer marketing. Okay. It's just reaching out to them, setting it up, and off to the races. Boosting social media posts, doing those at least 1 to 2 times per week, eventually 2 to 3 times per week. Podcasts, whether you're hosting your own, going on others, blog posting, that should be done consistently. If you're going to grab one from this list, that might be the one to grab, because it includes your search rank, increases search ranking as well. Google review campaigns. If you guys just do this, if you just send a text to all your students today and just say, hey, as you know, we're a local business and we're always trying to get as many people to know about us as possible. Could you take 2 minutes and go to this link and just leave us an honest Google review, because it helps us to be more searchable online. You'll probably get 4 to 5 Google reviews today just from sending out that text. Social media giveaways and contests. A lot of us just post content and don't do things that's going to get interaction on our social media pages. So doing giveaways, even if it's like where they can win a free shirt, they can get a gift card, something like that, all helpful. Valpak or coupon mailers, similar to direct mail. Usually you got to do those for about 3 months before you start to see a return on the investment. And then we talked about Google business page updates and posts already. Okay, crosses, refreshing your social media ads. Running paid advertising is good. And it's even better if you're actually refreshing the content consistently. Can an ad run for a long period of time without having to be refreshed? Yes, but those are the unicorns. Okay, those are the 1% where it's all the stars align, the area is correct. Like we've had that happen for our school where we've run an ad and it went for like 4 months. That's like unheard of in Facebook. So refreshing though is going to make sure that you are constantly keeping everything up to date and new and fresh and exciting for the people seeing it. Okay, you can do location tagging contests or check-in contests at your school. Working with places like Lululemon, elementary schools, other fitness places where you're doing like a trainer for the day or offering a free seminar as a part of a fitness challenge. We've done those before. External community events. we talked about this every month. You should be Googling community events near me and then reaching out to those people. I don't think there's really better marketing, and that this is coming from someone that owns a digital marketing agency, than being out in your community. I still think it's the best form of marketing. Bring a friend events. These have been around for ages, but are you still doing these? Are you finding ways to make these happen? For seminars that I've run, Bring a Buddy, Break a Board has been one of the best events to actually get kids that aren't students in the door. We used to do it where it was, if you bring one friend, you get to break a board, and then for every friend you bring, you get to break an additional board. So we'd have kids bring like 5 friends with them, and then that student gets to break 5 at the end of the seminar. And then any of the friends that actually show up to the seminar, we also teach them how to break a board as well. Park training sessions, which is something that Roland Osborne made really popular. I think those are great to do as well. Referral contests, birthday parties. Talk to Chris Casamassa if you're not sure how to run like successful birthday parties. He's got a great program. Doing free community seminars. We just run a boosted post when we do these. Okay, you run a boosted post for like a 5 to 10 mile radius around your location, and it works really well. Doing PTA fundraisers where you team up with them and you donate the profit from your parents' night out to the PTA. Parades, doing your phone call follow-ups. All right, we have gotten lazy when it comes to following up leads. Okay, we're like, oh, the text message automations or the email automations, they're going to convert them for us. No, they aren't. They're going to assist. They're going to be conversation starters. You still need to pick up the phone and call the leads. Call the damn leads. Call them. Like this phone that all of us walk around with and have attached to our hip has this amazing app on it called the phone app. And it's the one where you dial the numbers. We got to use that. Anniversary specials. We every summer do some sort of anniversary special for our ads. It's just easy. If it's your 10-year anniversary, guess what? 10 days for $10 to celebrate our anniversary. Use your anniversary as a reason to sell and do a trial special every year. Okay, knockouts. These are going to work really, really well if you are being consistent with jabs and crosses. They're going to be much less effective if you aren't doing jabs and crosses. First is a database reactivation campaign. We do this once a quarter where we pretty much text our entire list and we say, hey, text back the word claim if you want to grab a free 10-day pass for our school. We're giving away 25 of these to thank the community. And then when they text back claim, we send them our scheduling link and they schedule their first free class. Really simple. It doesn't cost anything except whatever you're paying in text messages. And I would say on average, we get about 20 appointments when we've done this in the past. I just know that they are free appointments, so slightly lower show up rate, but it's something you should be doing quarterly. If you're an agency client, all you have to do is hit up your ad ninja or hit up our support team, and they can get this set up for you. 24 or 48 hour flash sale on trials. Anytime there's a holiday, make it a flash sale opportunity. Okay, do a flash sale on trials for that holiday. Even if you only get one from it, it didn't cost you anything. Like you just sent emails to the list that you already have. I think all of those should be done consistently. Even if you're not getting anything from it the first time, keep doing it. 3-week or 6-week class sessions at schools or preschools. So we've done this where we go to a daycare during the summer once a week, and we teach their kids there. And then at the end of it, we do a graduation pizza party. These mass intros have been around forever. It's not something we created. Many of you guys have heard other people talk about it as well, but they work. They still work really, really well. We've done the same thing as an after-school program at schools where we do like once a week on a Wednesday, go in there, have like 25, 30 kids that are there. And then we do same thing, pizza party and graduation at the end. And then we make that graduation pizza party a mass intro where we get as many of them to enroll as possible. Free community events we talked about. And then obviously Facebook, Google, and TikTok ads work best if you're doing the other things. There is one school that I know we've had as a client forever, and they are a unicorn school in the sense that they only spend about $5, maybe $10 a day max on ads. And for $5 a day, they're getting a stupid amount of leads for $5 a day. And it's because they're so good at the jabs and crosses. Like when you go in their area, everyone knows who their school is. Everyone knows where it is. They're always out in the community. They have an amazing reputation. They have a great amount of reviews. And as a result, they're not even having to spend that much at all on paid ads, and they're still getting the results that my school would get when we're spending $30 to $50 a day. So the better you are at the first 2 pages we went over, the easier these knockouts become and the better they perform. Okay, so let's talk about growing your arm. So all of what we just talked about was focused on new member acquisition. Okay, now we're going to jump into some of the other aspects of growing your average revenue per member. Okay, so we're going to do a scenario here. Okay, this is numbers from an actual martial arts school. So 331 members is what they had at the time of this experiment. Okay. With 331, they were doing 70,000 in revenue. Okay, so 331 members, 70,000 in revenue. Okay, if we figure out what their average revenue per member is with these numbers, it's $211. So our goal is, if your average revenue per member is under $200, our goal is to get you at $200 first when we start helping you. Okay, now if we just remember this number of 211, okay, option 1 is we can raise new member rates. Okay, so if I want to increase my average revenue per member, I can just charge more to the new people coming in. Every time I talk to a school owner about doing this, they are so anxious and nervous that everyone's just going to tell them no. But here's the thing you have to remember: the new people coming in don't know what your rates used to be, so they have nothing to compare it against when they come in. So if you're charging $20 more a month for new members starting today, they're not going to know that when they come in. They don't know what your old rates are. Secondly is 90% of the time when I have a client raise their new member rates, I usually get a message a couple weeks later that's like, they're still signing up even at this new rate and we're collecting more money. I didn't think it was gonna be this easy. It's that easy. It's not that hard. So I would sort of look at and do a competitive analysis with all the other schools in your area. And if you feel like your on the map product is good and you have good retention systems in place, I would encourage you to be the most expensive place in town. I never want to be the least expensive place. And it's funny, a couple of years back, I think we were charging $179 a month. And I remember I went to a school in the area and met up with the school owner to help him with some social media stuff. And when I went into a school, it was clutter everywhere. It was dirty. It smelled like BO. They had someone on the mat teaching a kids taekwondo class. This instructor doesn't look like they trained a day in their life. They were well over 300 pounds. And I'm not making fun of people that are overweight. It's just, if you're going to be a martial arts instructor, you do need to look the position. And then they were just leaning against the wall while they were teaching, and their hands on their belt, just barking out commands. And when I found out he was charging $179 a month, at the same time I was charging $179 a month, I immediately went back to the school and raised our rates to $209 a month, and nothing changed with the conversion percentage for how we were enrolling new members. Stayed exactly the same, even though we were charging more. It gave me the confidence because I saw someone else's program was much worse than ours to bump ours up. And I guarantee there are people in your area that don't have as good of a product or as good of customer service as you, that don't have as nice of a facility as you, and they're charging more than you just because they're more confident in their program. So charge more, right? So let's say in this scenario of raising, okay, new member rates, let's say our current membership rate's 209, and then our new member rate is 229. So let's say that we have a wash of a month where we lose 15 current people training at the 209 rate, but then we had also enrolled 15 people at our new rate of 229. We're still up $300 in billing, even though we gained 15 and lost 15, just because our rates are higher, right? So I always get this sometimes where like people are so worried about raising the rates, and then they go and do it, and we look at the numbers afterwards and they're like, it doesn't matter about the number of people we're losing at the moment. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but at the moment, because we're more than making it up with less people signing up paying the new rate. So it's going to help with your net billing, okay, your plus minus billing right out of the gate when you do this. You don't have to email out anyone. All you have to do is change your pricing sheets and start doing it, okay? Really simple. Option 2 We increase our current rates on people already training. Adam, how could you? There's this thing called inflation, guys. All right. We're all very familiar with it over the last couple of years. It's funny. There's when we talk about like gross revenue increase year over year, if you're not growing by 9%, you're dying. And the reason is just because average inflation year over year is about 9%. So if your business is growing less than 9%, you're actually losing money year over year. All right. So you need to increase current prices. There's two ways to do this. I'm going to give you the right now thing and the thing that should be in all of your contracts so you can do this whenever you want. Okay. Number one, to increase current prices, we have an email template that I'm happy to share with you guys at the end of this call. We have an email template that we used. We send it out to all of our students. I was nervous, just like all of my clients that I tell to do it. Like it happens. We sent it out. We didn't have a single person question it. We didn't have a single person quit because of it. And we did a 10% increase across the board for our members. And no one canceled. No one got upset about it because we communicated well in advance and we were very clear in our communication with them. Okay, so that's option one. Let's just show this for a second, okay? So when we did this at the time, we had $60,000 in recurring revenue for the school. Okay, and we did a 10% increase across the board for our current members, which means from sending out one email, we increased our billing by $6,000. All we did was send out an email and update memberships in Spark. That was it. $6,000 increase in billing. Okay, and by increasing that $6,000, it also took our arm from $211 to $229 from sending out one single email about price increases. It's amazing. Like it went up $18 average revenue per member from sending out one email. Okay, when you increase prices for new members, which I also encourage you guys to do if you haven't done it in a long time, okay, that's going to increase your arm over time. Increasing rates for current members increases it right now almost immediately. All right. And we've had tons of clients do this, go into it scared, and then they do it. And they're like, oh, no one even cared. I probably should have done a higher increase. That's what everyone says afterwards. So are you charging what you're worth right now? If not, I encourage you guys to do so. Now, Adam, what if I do lose members? Maybe my school is not like yours and I'm going to lose people. Okay. Well, let's take a look at this scenario. Let's say you lose 10 people who are all training at your old rates, which if we just use the numbers I've been showing you, let's say we lose 10 people at the $211 average revenue per member, which is what it used to be before the price increase, right? That means that we're losing $2,110 because we lost 10 people at that rate. But if you think about, we have a general increase of $6,000 across the board. We subtract that $2,110 we lost, we're still positive almost $4,000 in increasing for monthly revenue. All right, who cares if I lost 10 members? We're still up $4,000 in recurring revenue. Okay, and if we lost people because of a 10% increase, we're probably going to lose them the next couple of months anyway, is my guess. Okay, I've never seen this taught in our industry. This is something that is a staple in the fitness industry that should be a staple in our industry as well. The 5% annual increase. Okay, if you get nervous about sending that price increase email, okay, this is how you make sure you never have to send it again. All of your contracts should say that there's an annual 5% increase, all right? Which means once their contract hits 12 months, okay, their tuition will increase by 5%. Now, number one, when they're filling out the agreement, you need to tell them this and have them initial next to it on the agreement. Number two, you need to remind them that it's going to happen before the 5% increase kicks in. So they're not coming back to you pissed off, because you got to think about it. If you're signing like a gym contract for your gym that you work out at, okay, a year later, you're probably not going to remember what you signed in that contract. You're not going to remember all the terms. Right? So send out a reminder that says, hey, this is just your reminder. The 5% annual increase is going into effect. Your old rate was this, your new rate will be this. screenshot with a section of the contract in there so they see it again. And then, hey, just let us know if you have any questions. That's it. That's all you need to do. But now you have something that can help combat inflation. It's not quite a full 10%, okay? But it's a 5% annual increase that you can do. Now, the way we have it worded in our contract is we don't have to do it every year. It's not like a for sure thing. So what we do is we just sort of will assess at the end of each year of like, hey, is this a year that we want to go ahead and do this because expenses are increases, or maybe we're building on more of a team or something like that to do this. Because you guys saw, even with the 10% increase that we did as a one-time thing, $6,000 extra billion, that's a full-time employee right there. That's a full-time employee that now you can hire because you have that extra $6,000. For this one, you're doing this continually because your expenses continually go up, and this just helps to do that. Most fitness locations, specifically F45, Orange Theory, use those two as an example, they all have this language in their contracts. They all have a 5% increase clause, so every year it goes up by 5%. Your rent is probably going up by 5% every year. All right, so this is helping to combat the general rise in expenses that you are incurring as well as an owner operator. Okay, we also talked about operations optimization, okay, and how this can instantly increase our average revenue per member by just training our team better, making sure we have better systems in place, that we're being as efficient and as possible in these systems. Essentially, this is how we stretch a dollar without having to spend a dollar to increase revenue. So let's talk about where can we look. First is lead to trial conversion, okay? If we think about, I don't know if I have numbers on this. Okay, so your goal should be 50% for lead to trial conversion. And I'm just gonna exit out of this so I'm not like talking over my notes, all right? 50%. So if I get 100 leads, I should have 50 trial memberships as a result. That is our goal, okay? You are not gonna hit 50% without picking up the phone and calling leads consistently. It's just not gonna happen, okay? You have to be calling the leads consistently. Adam, I'm also teaching classes. I'm also like the manager. I'm a one-man show. I don't have time to call the leads. I call BS, all right? And here's why. I was a one-man show when I first moved out here. Okay, Scotty, who works for me now as our head coach, wasn't out here right away. Okay, he wasn't teaching all the classes. I was teaching all the classes, I was managing, and I was still calling all of the leads. And we're still always in a 40 to 50% lead to trial conversion. You have to make time. Okay, the hours before classes start, you should be calling leads. Okay, checking in between classes and leads. If you're a one-man show, I would heavily encourage you to have, or a one-person show, having 10 to 15-minute breaks between classes so you can handle business, all right? You need those breaks to be able to respond to people, answer the phone, all those things. 5-minute rule. We talked about this a lot. You have 5 minutes to win it. If you're not calling them in the first 5 minutes, you're most likely wasting the money you spent on gathering that lead. What if they come in at 2 in the morning? That's the only time the 5-minute rule doesn't take place, right? But anytime during normal operating hours or just daytime hours, you need to call them within 5 minutes. My goal when I follow up with leads is to call them while they're still on our website. That's my goal. I want them to be like, damn, you guys are good. Like, you are fast. And then when they say that, I'm always like, hey, we pride ourselves on customer service. And I know that it's important for you to get the information you requested. That's why I want to be so prompt in reaching out with you. They appreciate the hell out of that. Okay. I would bet that, and I don't have the numbers with me on this one. It was on the last webinar I did, but when we get a lead on the phone in the first 5 minutes, if I remember correctly, it was at least a 20% improvement in conversion. Okay. By getting them on the phone in the first 5 minutes. So we talk about calling our leads. You should have text message automation set up for the people that don't answer the phone. So at least there is consistent outreach happening, okay, along with email automations. And then you call your leads again. You don't stop calling your leads until they tell you no or until they purchase. You keep calling them regardless. If we think about this from a customer service standpoint, they requested information. Terrible customer service means that I never follow up and I never get them the information they're looking for. Great customer service is I continue to follow up, knowing that they have a busy life, knowing that they have things going on because they requested their information And me fulfilling their request is great customer service. I also encourage you to record yourself doing these calls and listen back to them afterwards so you can self-assess your performance. I don't like it when people are talking to leads and they're sitting down. The reason being is when you stand up, your energy changes, your voice inflection changes. You just sound more alive and awake on the phone when you are standing. So I encourage you to have your team stand up when they're going through this. If you're part of the martial arts systems program, if you're part of the agency, we have the lead follow-up phone call script and it works. Use it. It's in there. There's training on it in there. So train your team on that. Also, I'll say this, if you want to record yourself and send me the call, I will send a video back giving you feedback on the call. I'm happy to do that. All right. Here's the thing. I've only maybe had 2 people take me up on this offer ever. And I've probably said this on at least a dozen calls. All right. If you guys want some feedback, I'm happy to help you guys. Just send me the recording. I will send you a video back with feedback on what's missing from it or what can be done better to improve your lead to trial conversion. Let's talk about appointment to show up, okay? We can increase this. Here's what the metric should be. You should be, if it's a paid trial, you should have a 97% show up rate. If you're not having a 97% show up rate, there's something that can be done in the confirmation process that can be done better to get them there. Okay, if it's a free lead, so if they're coming out like a free week, free class offer type of thing, and it's a kid, it should be about 75% show up rate. If it's an adult, it should be about 60% show up rate. Those are all good show up rates for free. Now, what are some things that I can do, Adam, if the show up rate isn't there? Well, number one, you need to remove unknowns in the confirmation process. So one of the best ways to do that is send them a video of you going through and doing a tour of the facility and showing some action clips from the classes so that they have a better idea of what they're walking into before they get there. We also do this thing called a sales booster video, which is pretty much a video from the owner or the CEO. So a video from me that is just talking about how great our team is, talks about their training, that they're all first aid and CPR trained, that they go through a complete certification program before they can step on the mat. And it's essentially all the video is doing is making my team the authority. So when this person walks in, they know it's just not like some kid that's working with them or some unqualified person, but they know all the training that our team has gone through when they show up to the class, right? It gets them more invested in the program, it makes moms feel more comfortable putting their kids in your care. Okay, all of those things are helpful. Sending them testimonial videos, sending them screenshots of reviews. All of these things will increase the show up rate. The last thing I'll say on this is get a verbal confirmation from them during the confirmation process that they're going to be there. They will drastically increase your show up rate. How not to do this? Hey, just want to make sure you're still coming in today. That sounds desperate. Instead, hey, Jonathan, I want to make sure that we have everything ready to go for your son's first class. Can you let me know what his t-shirt size is so I can get the appropriate size uniform ready for him? Then they respond back, oh, he's a 6'8". Awesome, thank you. I just got confirmation they're coming without having to actually ask them if they're going to show up or not. Okay, so we talked about those. What we do is we do 3 text message confirmations. We do one immediately when they book their class. We do one 24 hours before and then one 4 hours before. 3 emails at the same cadences, tour video, sales booster videos, all going out in the confirmation. Okay, number 3 is your closing percentage. What is the acceptable closing percentage that we talked about? Well, it's 85%. Okay, 85% is an acceptable closing percentage. The sales success system is how you do that, guys. So if you're a client of ours in martial arts systems or the agency and you have access to martial arts systems, you need to go and learn and implement the sales success system. It's been proven to close at 85%, not just in my school, and schools all across the country. It works. Attrition. What is like amazing attrition. 4% is amazing. Okay, so attrition is the percentage of students that quit every single month. Where's the industry average? It's like 8 to 10. It fluctuates. Just remember, the more people you lose, the more people you have to get in there to replace them, which means the more calls you have to do, the more sales you have to do, the more marketing you have to do. If I have really good retention systems in place, my goal is to hit that 4%. I'm actually okay with our team hitting 5% because I know that we can still get enough new members coming in with a 5% attrition where we're going to continue to grow month over month. Okay. But if you're at an 8 or 10% attrition, you need to be looking at your retention systems. Is my team doing member outreach consistently? Meaning, are they sending handwritten postcards? Are they sending personalized videos? Are they doing courtesy calls, quarterly courtesy calls, where they're picking up the phone, just calling every single student and giving them progress updates on how they're doing and connecting with the parents? Are they doing parent progress talks after each class, where they just pretty much go up to a parent with the kid and talk about what Johnny got better at in today's class, and then giving them some tips on some things they can work on at home to continue Johnny's progress of growth with your program? All of those things are super important. Are you doing new member orientations at your school? When I think of attrition, okay, besides member connection, which I think is one of the biggest parts of it, the other two arms of attrition that I think of is personal progress. So are your students actually getting better? Number two, do they actually realize that they're getting better? Because we've all had that student that has been making waves with improvement that quits out of nowhere, and you're like, well, I don't understand why they quit. They were getting so much better. And it's most likely because we didn't do a great job of communicating their progress to them. They didn't actually realize they were getting better, or the parent didn't actually realize the amount of improvement that was happening in that child as a result of our program. So we talked about personal progress. We talked about member connection already. And then the third part of attrition is brand alignment, okay, which never gets talked about. Brand alignment. So what does that mean? Do the parents understand all the whys for why you do the things you do in your business? Do they understand your core values, and are they aligned with them? Okay, when we launched Move, we went through pretty much every system we used to do, and we're like, hey, how do we get rid of all the unknowns? And you know what the answer was? It was creating a new member strategy guide that outlines our principles of teaching, that has a letter from me on why I started Move and what my goal is with Move Martial Arts, that explains all the different programs, all the different class times, the belt journey to black belt. It has everything in there, what we look for our instructors, how we train our instructors. So now, not only do our parents get that, we also review it at our new member orientation. We also are working on a video course to go with it. So I'm just thinking every single way of communication possible with them, to remove those unknowns. I want them to know the brand as intimately as I know the brand. And a lot of times we don't do good enough well enough communicating all of these different unknowns to them. How do you find the unknowns? Go through your email history and your text history and look at the questions you are getting asked the most from your parents. Those are the unknowns. Those are the communication holes that you have in your systems that you need to fill to be able to remove those from your clients, from your members. Okay, if you guys want to scan this is going to give you our omni-channel marketing list. If you are in martial arts systems or an agency client, you already have access to this in martial arts systems under the marketing section. But for anyone else, you can grab this Google Doc by scanning this. And it's going to be that complete list that I showed earlier of all of the jabs, crosses, and knockouts that we had. All right, I apologize for going over on time, but hopefully we're able to provide some value to everyone. Email template for rate increase. So what I'll do, guys, is I'm going to go ahead and I'll email that out to everyone afterwards. And that way you guys have it. It is it's a template you guys can plug and play however you want. So we will go ahead and send that out afterwards. Give us to the end of the day, just gonna have a couple more calls and we'll get that out to everyone. All right, guys. If you guys have any questions on anything, since we're over time, feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. Otherwise, we will see you next month on our next webinar, which I don't know the topic off the top of my head, but I know we already have it written down and planned. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.